basically, you can work out as much as you want, but you're going to get most of your results from nutrition, like what you eat. They say that abs are made in the kitchen. It's true. You can't outrun your fork. And you can't outtrain a bad diet. So. What?
You love those little can't outrun your fork things.
I didn't even make this. Okay.
Well, then I was going to say that's
So, a good diet will decrease fat, put on muscle. You'll improve your physical performance, increase your energy, increase your focus. You'll have less ups and downs throughout the day. Basically, every marker, like biomarkers, will be pushed in the right direction, more healthy direction. Yes, more of them, Kara. We don't want to do that. So as we talked about in the homework stuff that you guys all definitely looked at, right?
Memorized it.
Yeah.
Kathy and I watched that.
Somebody's here. We are focusing on quality of food and quantity of food. So during this challenge, we're going to be eating meats, vegetables, nuts, some seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar. That's the paleo diet. Basically awesome food, healthy food, real food. We want to keep our intake levels that support performance but not excess fat. So eat until you're full but not in excess. Basically, the quality of foods, if you eat the right type of food, it's enough to prevent diet-induced diseases, autoimmune diseases. You guys haven't seen, are experts in that. But the quality of food alone is not necessarily going to give you the best results. So we're also going to focus on the quantity of food that you eat. So like we were saying a minute ago, meats, veggies, nuts, seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar. No sugar. If it's not in there, don't eat it. We're going to be using the zone diet or a modification of the zone, like the idea of measuring your food and quantifying your food for the first few weeks of the challenge to kind of understand your portion sizes and how much you should be eating. You're going to figure out what you need to eat to perform, if you need to increase it or decrease it. It's kind of a time for experimentation in what you need. It's going to be different for each person. So we're going to start out with the zone. We're going to measure our foods. So we're going to need, each person's going to need to get a scale, like a kitchen scale. They're like $10-15 on Amazon or a kitchen store, I guess. Target. Yeah. So now we're going to go into a little bit more on the science things. There's some issues with high protein, low fat diets. Basically, high protein diets promote water loss versus fat loss. The body uses muscle mass to convert protein into carbohydrates for energy. Fat is not the enemy. Yes, it is good for you. Low fat foods are often high in sugar, and you need to eat fat to lose fat. Helps you feel full longer and aids in nutrient absorption. Yes. All right. So we're going to look at carbohydrates a little bit closer here. I'm usually not very good at presenting, so just to tell you.
Just read the TV to us.
You got it, PC.
Okay. Zone diet, not a low carb diet. Most Americans consume way more carbohydrates than they need to. All of the processed carbohydrates, it's like a huge part of the American diet. All the bread, crackers, chips, pasta. Everybody eats a lot of that. In the past, as you guys saw in one of those videos that I put out, doctors basically said that eating fat was a major cause of heart disease. And so in the 50s and 60s, basically fat became the enemy, and people associated fat with being unhealthy. And so people turned to carbs instead to get their calories, and that's caused a rise in obesity. More diseases have been prevalent, and people are just generally less healthy than they used to be. Basically, the way it works in your body, carbohydrates are stored as glycogen, which feeds your brain. Your brain can only access glycogen from your liver, which has a limited capacity for storage, and any extra carbohydrates that your liver can't store are converted to fat and stored as fat in your body. So this is the body's response to good carbs. You consume like an ideal portion of carbs. Your pancreas delivers a low level of insulin to allow your cells to get sugar, and your brain and your muscles as well. If you eat too many carbohydrates, more than your body can process, you have a rapid rise in blood sugar, insulin spikes, like after your meals when you feel like you want to pass out and take a nap. Sometimes that happens. That's from the insulin. Pancreas releases high levels of insulin, and once everything is full, has consumed like all of the glycogen or glucose that it needs to operate, then that carbohydrate gets put into your fat cells, and you get fat, and you lose energy, high cholesterol, you get diabetes. Not necessarily diabetes, but it leads to it sometimes. The diabetes. So your glycemic index, we'll talk about this a little bit during our challenge, is low glycemic or glycemic foods. It's the measure of the entry of carbohydrates into your bloodstream. Elevated blood sugar, elevated insulin. Insulin basically promotes fat storage, and high glycemic foods, typically like starchy, sweet, or processed foods, like bread, pasta, rice, potato, grains, desserts. Low glycemic foods are healthy foods, vegetables, pretty much all vegetables, some fruits. So that's, you want to focus on low glycemic vegetables and try and stay away from the starchy, sugar-filled foods. The idea of the zone diet is you're prescribed a certain amount of blocks per day based on the amount of lean body mass you have and your activity level. A block is a unit of measure used to simplify your process of making your balanced meals. So each block consists of 7 grams of protein, 9 grams of carbohydrates, and 1.5 grams of fat. So all 3 of those, protein, carbohydrate, and fat, are 1 block of food. Each meal, snack, should contain equivalent blocks of protein, carbohydrate, and fat. So an example block meal, you'd have 4 ounces of chicken breast, 1 artichoke, 1 cup of steamed vegetables, 1/3 tablespoon of olive oil, and an apple. So your carbohydrates would be the artichoke, vegetables, and apple. That'd be 1 block. Your 1 block of chicken with protein would be 4 ounces, 4 blocks, sorry. And your 1/3 tablespoons of olive oil would be 4 blocks of fat.